So what makes a space a workshop? What's its essence? Does a two-car attached garage qualify? Is that even enough space to call a workshop? Is it the tools, the square footage, or the work that happens inside it? I think instinctively we already know the answer. What makes a space a workshop are the projects that come out of it. Last August, I found out that I had to move, forced out of my old shop and into a new space. It came with a bit of excitement and a whole lot of anxiety. But I'm back, a new space and hopefully a new perspective. It may be smaller in square footage, but my hope is that it becomes a place where ideas are crafted into reality, one cut at a time. To those of you who stuck around through the transition, thank you for your patience, for your understanding, and for believing in me. And if you're new here, well, welcome. This is a new chapter in the journey. Now, the shop isn't finished. I mean, is any shop ever really finished? And this video definitely is not a flex. Because space isn't about size, and it's not about the tools that happen to live there. Each person's space is different, and that's exactly how it should be. Your space is defined by your reality, your time, your budget, your square footage. And a space is perfect when it actually becomes a tool itself. Useful, honest, and secondary to the hands that work within it. So instead of comparing spaces, maybe we learn from one another how to shape the space we have into the workshop that's right for us.
Hey guys, it's January of 2026. I'm back. I am extremely excited to kind of get the opportunity to show you guys around the shop. It's not completed. The walls are still blank. And that was kind of intentional because I don't know my workflow yet. So I didn't want to put up a French cleat wall or put up cabinets until I kind of knew exactly how everything was going to flow, or if I even had to move things from one spot to the next. I think for right now, I've got a good foundational structure within the shop that I think is gonna work well. In moving shops, especially down to a smaller square footage, the biggest challenge that I faced was just stuff that normally goes into a garage. So I kind of did two things. I built a shed, an 8x8 shed in the backyard. There's a video for that, so if you guys want to check it out. It comes with a free material list, free plans, if you need an 8x8 shed. That allowed me to take all of like the garden tools, anything that relates to the yard, and put it out, freeing up space in the garage. And then I also decked the attic, and that allowed us to take all the other stuff and put it up in the attic, kind of clearing the way for us to do what we needed to as far as the workshop footprint. So glad to be back. So without further ado, let me show you my space.
Let's start with a quick walkthrough just so you can get your bearings. It's small, so hang in there. This part, it won't take long. Unlike my old shop, which was about 24 by 24 square, this space is more rectangle, about 11 feet wide and roughly 35 feet long. So if my math is mathing, that's around 190 square feet less than before. The biggest challenge with this space is having enough open area for assembly. Things like tables, hutches. So out of necessity, almost everything in here is on wheels. Being able to move tools around isn't optional, it's essential, especially when I'm working on larger projects. Second, you'll notice a ton of totes. For now, this is where all my smaller tools and parts live. Like I said earlier, I haven't built out the final workbench or cabinets yet, mostly because I don't know how my workflow is going to evolve. Over time, I'm hoping these totes start to empty out as tools find more permanent homes throughout the shop, but honestly, who knows? Now technically this is a 3-car garage, so you might be wondering why I keep calling it a 2-car. Well, the family's laid claim to a part of this space, because the shop doesn't exist in isolation, it exists inside a home, inside a family, and learning to work within those boundaries, that's just part of the process.
So I talked about an assembly area, so this is what I have as of right now. But again, since everything is on wheels, I can be able to move things around if I'm needing more of a footprint to build things like tables or things like hutches, but this is it. So I will bring my material in here, can break it down. I've got the garage door up, which when I'm working, most of the time I actually do have it up, which means I actually lose this much space to put a tool up against. And that's why my drum sander resides right here right now. Over here, I do have my dust collection, one of the best Facebook Marketplace finds I've had. And then also I have my chop saw here, mostly because I don't have dust collection. And so I can wheel this out and actually have the dust just shoot straight out the garage. Okay, we're gonna start off with the dust collection system. Now this does feed my entire shop. I actually found this on Facebook Marketplace. I think it's the GO860. Yes, GO860 by Grizzly. It is big, so when I first put it in here, I was kind of intimidated for how I was gonna actually make it work, but it actually fits in pretty well. I have the inlet port coming off into a 4-inch PVC line that comes out, and there's 3 inlet ports that line up with each tool that I have along my wall. And so with that, it feeds the table saw, it feeds the joiner, the bandsaw, as well as the planer. So this is going to be the workhorse as it relates to major dust collection within the shop. It's actually on a remote too, which is really cool. So we'll hit that. It's a little loud, but as you can see, this works great. And probably still a little loud, but we'll just go into, this is my miter saw. It is on wheels. It's just the DeWalt. This was probably one of the first tools I actually got. And I don't use it too often. A lot of times it's just to break down probably longer boards. And so that is this area right here. Next up is the belt center. Now this is brand new. I actually found this on OfferUp. A heck of a steal. It was brand new. Right out of the box, and so never been used. It is the Supermax 1632 by Laguna, and the reason that I got it is because I want to start doing bent laminations. So after I resaw the wood on the bandsaw, I want to be able to come over here and sand it flat. Excited to have it, haven't used it yet. Maybe I'll let you guys know how it works, but this was the newest edition, so happy to have it. And in the center of the workshop is my table saw. This is the Harvey Alpha HW110S 36 PG. It is the 4 horsepower and it's 240 volt. Do you need a big cabinet saw in a wood shop? You don't. I actually used the Delta contractor saw for years and it was a great tool. But I do, again, love to mill my own lumber. So being able to tackle larger rough stock, 10-4, 12-4, and break it down was imperative. Biggest complaint, if I had one, is dust collection. My Delta did a better job. It's not bad. I don't want to make it sound like it throws dust everywhere, but I do wish to some extent it was a little bit better dust collection. It has the Big Eye rip fence system, which to me was another reason that I bought the Harvey. Great fence, extremely accurate, so could not be more happy with this table saw. For dust collection on the table saw, went ahead and installed, this is the first port that comes off. And it's just, I use the magnetic linkage. I found that this is so much easier, you know, having to unscrew it, screw it back on. So this magnetic system has been incredible. So this connects when I'm using it, you know, open the blast gate, works great. And when I'm not using it, I can take it off. I can, you know, have it stick to the side of the table saw. And then it also connects my other port, integrates into my router, which is in my outfeed table. So being able to swap these out, I think, is going to be extremely satisfying, because in the past, I literally would have to unscrew, screw it back in. The contraption that I had built was just a nightmare. So this really does increase my efficiency and really makes it easy to swap the tools out. So next is my outfeed table. This was one of the first things that I built. I've never had a huge shop, and so the outfeed table really had to serve so many different purposes besides just being able to catch material as it comes off the table saw. And so this one measures 56 inches by a little over 36 inches. And what I like about this is I was able to integrate my router lift into the top of it. And so this has been another great way to kind of not have another tool laying around, is to actually integrate it into the outfeed table. And on top of it, I can put my router fence and be able to route, just about anything that I want to. One of the things, it is on wheels, I have them off, but one of the things that I think is really cool is that if I have to route something, my outfeed table is slightly below my table saw. So when I put the wheels on, I can crank the wheels up. It actually lifts this to where the outfeed table is slightly over the table saw. And that way, if I'm routing long pieces, I don't find myself coming into a situation where I'm hitting the table saw, and that's restricting my ability when using the router fence. This table is incredible. Very proud of it. So I'll take you guys and kind of walk you through the functionality. A great addition to the workshop. If you don't have one and you're in a small workshop, I would say try to find a way to utilize your outfeed table for storage, multifunction as much as you can get it. On this side, I have all of my kind of small tool storage. This is kind of all, I guess, all the tools that I use when I'm measuring. And then underneath that, I have all of my screws and all my small parts kind of lined up in here. So multiple drawers, and it kind of keeps everything in one area as you're using it. More storage on the front. A lot of tools that I use while I'm actually working here at the outfeed table. So this is a major assembly area that I have here as well. More tools on this. This is going to be all the tools I need for my router lift as I'm functioning. I keep those very handy on the top. Next, I have all of my router bits, easy to access and utilize. And then here I have my flush trim saw, some other things, but it's been great. On top, this is my router, and this is just the Rockler SL. I've been satisfied with it. You know, choose your battles as far as how much you want to spend on a router lift, but this has been great. Highly functional, no complaints about it. I do have the integrated dust collection. So this box feeds into the dust collection system. And then over on this side, I just have some more vertical tools. And again, just real quick, access. Overall, love the outfeed table. I actually have it in SketchUp, so if you guys ever want me to release the plans or do a deeper dive, you guys just let me know. All right, next up is the joiner. This is my Grizzly G0858. It's 8 inches by 76 inches. It's a decent tool. Are there better joiners out there? There probably are, but I have kind of learned the intricacies of this joiner. One of the frustrating things is this does slightly get out of parallel if you're doing a lot of joining in one day. But other than that, it's a great tool. I watched a ton of videos to kind of learn how to make sure that the beds are parallel. It is connected to the dust collection through the magnetic couplings. So when you fire this thing up, it starts delivering chips to the dust collection. Overall, great tool to have if you mill your own lumber. I'm not going to say anything bad or good about this. It's a decent machine. Next in line is the bandsaw. This is my Rikon 14-inch 10326. I want to wire this up for 240. It is currently wired for 110. Lots of resawing in the projects that I do, so having a really good bandsaw was important. Same thing with the blades, and then again, taking the time to set these type of tools up to make sure that they're gonna cut true. Extremely important. Dust port on the back, and I can swap this with the bandsaw. This actually does pull out, so it is mobile. I tend to use it in the middle of the shop more than up against the wall. But since space is tight, this is where it gets parked when not in use. Probably, again, better bandsaws out there. I guess I kind of hit that middle of the road as it relates to most of my tools. I don't go uber top in. I try to stay away from the bargains and try to get a tool that I'm gonna end up enjoying to use. In that way I use it, but also has a lot of functionality and ability to set these things up and get them tuned just right. Last and definitely not least is my planer. This is the Oliver 155, 15-inch, 240 volt with the helical head. This is probably my most controversial tool. You think it'd be the Domino. People either love this machine or they hate it, and I'm not quite sure why. I did a video where I compared it to the 735, not to try to claim that they are equivalents. They're not. They're two completely different machines. They have two completely different price tags. But I really believe that they had kind of found a machine that fit a niche. And that niche was, you don't want a big floor standing planer, but you want a 240 volt. You wanted a helical head. And this machine kind of serves that purpose. I have fed a ton of board feet through this, but it is set up right now. As you can see, I have to wheel this out, hook it up to the dust collection. It can move up and down depending on how much room I need for infeed. And I can use the different ports on my dust collection. And next to it is my drill press. I don't use it very often. I don't even know the model number. Model number 4214. But it's my drill press. And this is actually on an old milling cart. When I first started, I had a jointer on that side. I had my DeWalt 735. Actually, I had the DeWalt 734 when I started, which was a lunchbox planer. But I didn't want to build a new cart, so I just threw the Oliver on the old cart. I do plan on doing something different in this space. And when I actually build out my workbench on this side, I'm going to move the drill press over to this side. But great machine. If you're in the market and you're looking for planers, 240 volt planers, I would definitely put this in for consideration. Not saying that you have to buy it. It may not even fit your purpose, but I definitely look into it to see if it's a choice that will work for you. The back wall currently is pretty simple. I've got my toolbox, and then I have this shelf unit, which I have put all of my tools in these totes. You know, these would normally probably go in cabinets or drawers. But for now, since I haven't designed or know where my cabinets need to go, I have them living in these totes. Then on this side, as you can see, got my track saw, my straight edges, and this was the Amazon cabinet from hell. If you guys watched that video, this thing, I'm not even gonna say, just don't buy it. Don't, whatever you do. But inside of it right now, again, things that will eventually move to cabinets. And this is the workbench. This is temporary, guys. I plan on building a new workbench along with figuring out what I want to do along this wall. But I needed a workbench. I needed a place to store some of my hand tools. My jigs are on the bottom. And, you know, for my oscillating sander. Big plans for this wall. So once I figure out what my workflow is and what I want to do to this space, we will tackle it. But for now, you know, like I said, I wanted a temporary workbench. I got these legs off of Amazon. It's just 2x4s and, you know, 3/4 plywood on top. But it functions, it does what it needs to do, and that's the purpose of a workbench. On this side is my air compressor along with my hose reel. So I've got air on this side. The only bad thing is I only have one plug. I've wired the heck out of the other wall. I don't know why I only put one plug on this wall, but this is a 20 amp service, so maybe we can get creative with it. But this is the workbench work area, and that's where the magic happens, guys. I hope you enjoyed this tour. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us small creators out. If you have any questions about anything that you have seen, please leave a comment. It is my pleasure to answer those to the best of my abilities. We have a lot of cool projects coming up, so stay tuned, hit the notifications so that you are made aware when those are happening. And other than that, we will see you guys on the next video.